All right. Um,
Hello, hello, hello.
man, I don't know what's wrong with my picture. Having technical difficulties. But hey, we're glad you're here. But let me play a little something before we come in fully until I work out my camera. Oh, I see what's wrong with my camera. There we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There you are, sir. There you are. Boom, boom.
Just pause for this little thing that I created here before we get started. We want to thank you all and make sure you go to our YouTube channel. That's where we want to have you at to engage with us there. But watch this. Oh, oh yeah, that's what we're talking about right there. All right. So my brother, how you doing today?
Fan flipping tastic. It's Tuesday, baby.
Okay,
It's Tuesday.
man. Listen.
Tuesday is Tuesday.
All right. Now we want to thank you for showing up for our coaching here, and again, we would love to have you on YouTube. We appreciate you being on Facebook with us because we're just trying to get our friends and our families on Facebook over to YouTube. So that'll be really great if you can go there. And look at that, always got the support. That's my sister there. Thank you, sis. You need to put your picture up, and we're gonna make it happen. Yeah, so I'll check that, my brother. Let me see. So we're so grateful to have you here, and we're literally excited because we're doing this free coaching, and just want to introduce you to some different concepts, some ideals, some mindsets. Yeah, I do have my mirror on, so I'm flicking it back over. Yo, leave me alone. No, I'm joking. All right. And so we just want to be able to introduce you to some concepts, some ideals. And listen, coaching is something that can be pretty personal to people because they don't know if they really need one and stuff like that. But that's fine. We're grateful that you're here, and we know that we'll be able to help you to kind of see through some things here. So we're literally there are more broadcasts we're going to do. Of course, we're going to do this once a week, and so, but we want you to have something systematically so you can kind of understand where we're going. And we also have a worksheet if you want that. This one is totally free to you. You just have to email us. You can email us to info now, and that will be info now at nouveaureachsystems.com. That is our website. I mean, our email. There you go. So you can write that down. I know Nouveau Reach is something to swallow, but it's important that you learn that name and get it down. And you can also go to our website. I'm going to write more blogs. I've been writing blogs on all types of stuff, but mainly I've gotten into this niche of writing blogs on affiliate marketing because that's some stuff that we're doing as well in our business, especially on that YouTube stuff and everything once we start building the channel out. And so it's going to be very important on that end. So that's a part of our life. And we're all, and I'm a business coach as well as entrepreneur coach and the whole 9 yards. So it's important that you link up with us there. And then if you have some ideas or some things that you want to hear, that you want us to kind of approach and deal with, definitely leave us that information in there so that we can help coach you through those types of things, or we can write about it in a blog that can probably settle some things that you're needing to make that transition over. Because we're in the fray too as well, and while we're going through it as well, just like everybody else, we have to learn how to manage our emotions and deal with the whole deal with life like everybody else is. All right, and so right here we're at the third lesson from our coaching of goal setting. Now, all this stuff about breaking through the change cycle is about goal setting. It's about getting your mindset, learning what needs to be done, breaking through all the bad habits. We all have habits. We all have habits. We all got things that will cause us not to be able to break through that change cycle. So we are excited to really flow through this whole process. So here's what we stopped off at, or we was getting to jump into, and it's consider the following reasons you may have allowed this cycle. So breaking the chain cycle, we dealt with a few things that will hinder you, limiting beliefs, the whole 9 yards. You have drivers that can either motivate you for change. You got drivers that'll motivate you not to change. Oftentimes, we don't know what to do to kind of take action in some areas, and so we got to know how to turn those things off and how to fine tune in the areas that we need to fine tune in order to jump over those limits and those limiting beliefs. We all have them, but we can minimize those things and we can get past those issues and get to our goals. All right. And so that's very important. And then we have other videos on YouTube. We're going to start breaking those down into like 2 to 3 minute videos, so it can be more consumable. And you're going to absolutely love that. And that'll be those quick videos that kind of drop off on you, so you can kind of consume that, because I know everybody's busy and kind of moving around. So here's some things to consider when we're talking about breaking that chain cycle. Here's one of the major things. Number one, you don't want to change. Now, how many have ever been there before where you say, I really want change, and saying that you want change and actually changing is two different things. You can say that you're going to start something, or you're going to change something, but there could be issues that can hold you back. And in essence, you really don't want to change, because changing what costs you a lot more than what we're willing to pay, right? Sometimes changing costs us more than we're willing to pay. What do you think about that, Coach Devon?
Man, it's something I'm mentally having to challenge my way through right now, with the idea of wanting to buy a new car. Um, I don't want to pay a payment. Um, I know I can afford to, but I don't want to. I just literally don't want to. But is it in the best interest of my family? Is it the best interest of business? Is it part of my next steps of development? Absolutely. So I was talking to myself today on the way home. I was like, you just got to do it. You just got to do it. I can't. I mean, I've done the research, um, looked at different things, kind of figured out what I want to do, but just doing it,
Mhm.
and making a decision to do it, and then also making the decision to commit to doing it.
Yeah.
That's step two. So I'm committed to buying a new car. So I got to get that process rolling, make some phone calls, make it happen. But it's something that we all go through at different phases of life about different things. There are some things that are really easy to do when it comes to change, and then there's some things that we may not want to do. We may not be in positions that are comfortable to do, but it's a necessary thing, because for me, um, I can't move forward in the plans that me and my wife talked about without making the decision.
Hmm.
So I just got to make a decision. Which today I was like, you got to do it.
Yeah.
So it's just that simple. It's one of those things that, even though um, in the coaching process you talk to someone and you kind of navigate with them and help them see that, hey, this is just as simple as it is. I think the important part is not overcomplicating the reality. Is that sometimes making a decision is just as hard and just as easy as just making a decision.
That's right. That's right. So, so you said something interesting, and we see for the most part, what we do is we don't talk about this stuff before we get started. So everything you get in here is just us. We know our material, but it's just us just engaging and having those conversations. And so there's nothing pre-rehearsed on what we do. So we just know what we know. When he's talked about making decisions, that really that really puts you into the place to where if you're indecisive, things will never happen. You have those that are action takers, and then you got those that will let life happen to them, right? And so you got to make a decision. You got to make a determination to kind of move forward. And
That's
so,
right.
so here's what this says. It says you don't know really what you want when we don't, like we said, number one, you don't want to change. So we really don't want the things that you think that you want. Oftentimes, the reason why we can't make that transition because we don't really want what we really think we want, right? And then it says that you may be trying to convince yourself to change to appease others, to conform to what you believe you should do if you don't want to change. And it gets into this portion right here. And it says this is very common with people who say that they want to quit smoking, they really want to quit, and they simply think they should quit, and it never works. So what have you in reality, we got to really look at what we really want out of these situations, right? And that could apply to anything that we're facing and anything that we're seeing. What do I really want out of this whole thing? And so, if you will, while you're here, and I hate to drop out and do the commercial thing, like and share this on Facebook, and if you're on YouTube, this is where we prefer you to be. Share this, like it, comment, and that'll help get the algorithm, rhythm flowing with what we do,
Flowing.
and that'll start the river to flowing. Oh yeah, that's what we want. So number two, it peels right into what you say, like you don't know what you want. That's the second thing. The reason why people don't change, they struggle with the fact that they don't want to change for one, and then you struggle with the fact of that you don't really know what you want. For the most part, if people really know what they want, then they'll make that transition, or they'll start the process of making that transition. And so, like he was saying that he was having some issues, trying to figure out, he could afford the car, but he's trying to figure out if that's what he wants to do. But so I believe you're going to go ahead and make that leap, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's necessary.
All right. So for those that are watching, if you will, if you're in that area right there, in that area right there, that we're just talking about, that you don't know, you don't really want to change because you really haven't really assessed on how much this is really going to cost me. So there is a cost to it. When you make those transitions or you making those changes, there is indeed a cost that it's going to really cost you. So, like we said in biblical terms, right? You got to count the cost, right? And counting the cost is very important because you got to know what is this going to cost me? Is it going to cost me, 5 years from now, you're going to still be in the same spot, or because the years are going to keep passing anyway. 10 years from now, if you live long enough for those 10 years, you're going to let those 10 years pass by and you won't make that change and reach your goal, right? I have goals that I'm trying to reach. I got things and I got stuff that got thrown. We all have things that get wrenches that get thrown in the process that'll throw you off and try to throw you off your job. But a well-oiled plan will get you and keep you in the proper place, regardless of what you're struggling with, what you're fighting with, or what you're hurting with, right? When your goals are set in place, it's going to help you through all those different changes. Now, it's not going to be comfortable. I'm in a very uncomfortable situation right now that I'm facing, but it's okay because I have my goals set and I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing to reach my goals and to see those things come to pass. Now, is it what else is on your heart concerning the lesson
The interesting thing is, I'll jump on to the next point. Uh, is your dream big enough? Is
there?
not your goal big enough? Is your dream big enough?
Yeah,
What you have the big time plan for is how you build goals
yeah.
um, to get there. And setting goals helps manufacture dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Setting goals helps manufacture dreams.
Yeah.
So the big thing is what is the goal really about?
Mhm.
For me, buying a car, my goal is not to buy a car. My goal is to buy a car and cut down on gas prices that are obviously for all of us a bit more challenge than we choose to bite on. Um, but the idea is to fit something in my budget that works by cutting my budget. And if I'm going to spend money in one place, I might as well get something new for the money I'm going to spend.
Mhm.
So really, it's reevaluating the value of where I'm spending my money.
Mhm.
I'm going to get the same car I have had
Mhm.
in a newer model and with newer features and with um, a hybrid. It will cut down on my gas prices. Me and my wife were talking about, there's places that we drive to weekly, regularly, and it's not going to stop. So the reality is, I can choose to pay more in my gas tank, or
Mhm.
I can choose to pay the money in a new car.
Yeah.
Why not pay the money in a new car? And then I have found other avenues that are possible that would open up the idea of me possibly renting out my vehicle. So now it lends me into the realm of updating my vehicle and so putting myself in a position to um, jump into a new business venture. Um, so when you're looking at life, you have to look at what is your big dream. What is the dream? What is the downward process? Because even further than the idea of renting out my car or having some sort of business revolving around my car, there's a bigger goal than that. There's a bigger dream than that,
Mhm.
um, and that can just go right up under the larger dream.
Okay.
So if you are struggling with moving forward or nailing down goals or learning what's necessary for the process and being able to make those hard decisions, maybe it's because your dream isn't big enough. Because if your dream is big enough, it makes it easier to make the decisions like I had to make with myself on the way home today, which is, hey, you're either gonna buy a car, or you're not gonna buy a car. But if you don't buy the car, you're gonna be right where you already are.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna change.
Yeah.
But the reality of a dream unforeseen becomes more distant.
Mhm.
So it's realizing that making that decision, I had to put away fear if there was fear. I had to, do my research, do my planning, make a wise decision. But also, the reality is, I had to look at the dream, the long term dream, and say, this is part of the plan. So it is a decision I can make.
Mhm.
So having having the dream and making sure that it's large enough so that when you come to the difficult parts of the road where you have to make a decision where you go left or right, whether you trail a new path, um, all of those become more easy to make because it pertains to you getting to the
Mhm.
dream.
Yeah. Gotcha. So, so by having a small dream, what do you think? What is the impact on that? That you think?
I think the impact is different because excuse me, it comes to the point where if your dream isn't big enough, then what's going to drive you? There has to be a driving factor. Like it can't be happiness. Happiness is a sense of emotionalism. It's up, it's down. You can't be in your feelings about your dreams
Yeah.
because your feelings come, they go. Um, for some people, they may be riding a feeling wave for 3 weeks, and you do work, and then when the feeling is gone, work's not getting done.
Mhm.
But it's the diligence, that has to be there. I think it's like, would you do anything to obtain the dream,
Mhm.
and the things that you want to obtain, will they push you along?
Yeah.
Because you can have a vision, but if your vision is, I want to be out of debt.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't have a purpose for being out of debt, then nothing's going to motivate you to stop spending money in one area and spend it in another area. Nothing's going to motivate you to sell something that you have, that you love, to be able to pay off a debt over here and get you into the position to get what you want. But there has to be a larger motivating factor.
Mhm.
And if we don't have that larger motivating factor, like for most people, getting out of debt usually equates to them buying a bigger vehicle, buying a bigger house, um, feeling more comfortable in their budget. Those are the typical things.
Mhm.
But the bigger thing is, well, what about the type of life that I want to live?
Yeah.
When you don't have a ton of debt, it allows you to not be confined to a job that you don't like,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
because all of a sudden you're not confined to a check to check life, where you can make a decision. If all of a sudden the company goes in a direction that you just completely fundamentally don't agree with, you have the option of walking away. But if you have crap ton of debt, then you're tied.
Yeah. It's too difficult to.
It becomes more cumbersome than you initially thought of.
Mhm. That's right. Yeah. That stuff is highly, highly important, and you find people that get stuck in those areas, and oftentimes you can't, because we're believers, right? You
That's right.
can't pray your way out of that. You got some of that stuff is just. I mean, the prayer is important and it's powerful, right? And it'll help you oftentimes to cope with stuff. But if you literally have gone into stuff, even in your foolishness, sometimes God will pull you out. But for the most part, you got to walk through that thing.
That's
You even look at it like with Joseph, right? When Joseph was uh, in slavery, he was in slavery, right?
right. It was.
And no matter praying and crying would have gotten him out of that.
Nope.
In it, and so we think that we can sit around and this New Testament church think that we can just sit around here and just work some mojo hobo and shout, throw a shoe, and scream and throw all over it, and
And we're gonna walk our way out.
getting buttered down with the olive oil, but it still doesn't change something. It's changed things in that manner because oftentimes God will choose to allow you to walk through that stuff, and then you got to start getting practical. Okay, God, you know, I'm gonna be a little bit more practical. I trust you, I believe in you, but I got to do things that's gonna help me to get out of this situation and break that cycle. And I'm gonna set some goals. And because you can look at it in essence when you know when the earth was formed, God systematically went through the days and did things. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everything was systematically done. Day one, day two, day three, day four, and then he rested. He rested what? He rested on the Sabbath day, and
Sabbath.
so there was it's not this willy nilly flippant stuff that was going on. He was systematic in what he did, and there was approach to it. So our dreams are not big enough, and we don't have the motivating things to kind of help us to kind of shift past that, nor the practicality to kind of move through those different things. So so oftentimes what happens, and I've seen this happen in my own life, letting your fears be bigger than you, right? I've dealt with that, allowing my fears to impact me at such a level that will cause me not to be able to overcome and overthrow. Now, there are areas where I'm strong at, right? If just living life as a believer, I'm strong in that, right? But when it comes down to certain things, I have areas of fear that I had to kind of navigate my way through and learn how to break those cycles of fear in order to make that transition. And there were practical things I had to do to get my way through it, right?
Mhm.
And oftentimes it wasn't me shouting the loudest in church, but it was me systematically sitting down and saying, okay, I have to attack this thing at a level and make changes. And when I make changes, anytime this thing try to rise up, I've already built up a pathway on how to overcome. And so when we get to trying to break through in every area, like with us, we know that people are successful at doing church. They can walk around, speak tongues with the greatest ones. They can walk over, grab the chandeliers and walk through the ceilings, walk on water. They can do the whole 9 yards. They can walk on the back of the benches, but they can't conquer
Hey,
fears in their life, right? There's certain things that you can't conquer. So it's not so. Just like with Paul owned the business, right? He owned
oh
the
yeah,
business. He worked, and then you saw the struggles with him and the church when people were not giving, especially when he was locked up. Because you get locked up, people don't care.
they they will send you a letter and no
No,
towel.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or they say, don't call the number. No, I'm not collecting phone calls from prison,
No, not.
right? And so, but Paul had to learn. Paul had to know how to be practical in things. So that's why Christian people, right? And so, but we want to, with church, people we're so. I'm trying to be careful on how I say this. There's a mystical side of what we do in the church, right? There's a mystical, spiritual side to what we do, but then there needs to also be practicality so we can get things done and achieve things and go to the next level. And then oftentimes the fear in church is that we're going to get stuff or we're going to do things and we're going to forget about him. Well, that's something internal. You need to work on that because there's something in you that's saying that as soon as I get this $100,000, I'm leaving God. I'm going to Vegas and I'm going to spend all my money. And some people are afraid of that, right? Because
Yeah,
there's certain things that they've done with it. There's certain things that they know about themselves that they can't trust. And so that's something personal that you need to work out with God and behind closed doors in your private time. All right. And so,
well, I think that lends to the idea of what you brought up about Joseph.
mhm,
Joseph, and like Paul said, he endured the hardship. And then later on, Joseph had to remind his brothers and give them counseling and coaching and
yeah,
let them know that, hey, let's not be sorrowful. Let's not hold our heads down. I'm not upset with you. You are upset, but everything is all good because it was God's plan all along. He gave me the dream. I spat it out. I
mhm,
shared with everybody. People will preach today till they blue, black, burgundy, and beige in their face. Oh, he shouldn't have shared it. He shouldn't have shared it. No, he was supposed to share it. And
yeah,
he was supposed to go in the hole. And he was supposed to go through the hard times. And he was supposed to endure so he could save his entire family and a complete nation.
mhm,
But it was a process in which God wanted that to happen. Uh, and it was for God's glory, not for his glory. And when
exactly.
we get that and we get that into our thought process of walking out things and endure, that's some stuff you just gonna have to live through.
Yeah,
It ain't gonna be fair, it ain't gonna be right, it ain't gonna be good till you see the good Lord.
yep, yeah. And so oftentimes a lot of stuff, well, you're going to find out more often that it's going to be your lived experience. You got to go through this stuff and you got to face this stuff and you got to be able to work this stuff out, right? and you got to gain experience, and you have to gain insight and wisdom. So
Mhm.
is this is number five. The reason it says you're attached to your problems. Your ego identities are wrapped up in your problems, and you can fear that if you let go of your problems, and you'll have nothing to talk about. So what it's simply saying is this: I've seen people complain so much when the problem finally gets fixed. They their identity and ego is wrapped in it. They have nothing else. You know, they have nothing else to do, because if I can't complain about this, or if I can't sit up and just run my mouth about this all the time, and I'll be hemming and hawing and huffing and puffing, and I'm taking those deep sighs every time somebody get on. It's just like this and that and other blah blah blah. If they can't, if they go through, and I've seen myself operate in this, right? If they can't get through, uh, success is right there, change is right there. They can make that transition, but it never happens because that thing gives them power, and they're too attached to it. They're so common with it. It's like it's an aid, it's a soother for them while they're going through, and they maintain that going through. And sometimes that stuff can turn into months and years of stuff, you know,
Mhm.
and to where they're holding on to these things, and a real lasting change never comes. Then it says you're benefiting from your problem. What is benefiting from your problems? People are literally saying, "Oh, you know, you know," and so man, um, I'm sorry you're going through that. But what you wind up doing is getting in these cycles, right? And people hear it all over and over and over, and you'll maintain that state because you're benefiting from it emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. And
I,
and
I
the
call it the warm blanket syndrome.
yeah,
When people give you that warm blanket and you get those fuzzy feelings from that warm blanket, and when the blanket cools off, then you need them to warm the blanket again so they can put the blanket back on you. Yeah, that's that warm blanket syndrome.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so so that really speaks to that, to where you're benefiting from your problem. To constantly keep talking about it, but the hidden issue is there's a deeper hidden issue, um, that you're dealing with. You don't know how to live outside of not having that problem. So it became a
Mhm.
companion for you. It'll soothe you just knowing that other people are sympathetic or empathetic for what you're going through. But here's the thing: failure is no longer an option. There's no longer an option that we can choose in this thing. And so set goals, stick to them, make the transition. But then there's a lot of mental things that we have to kind of overcome in order to get the upper hand and get the edge over that stuff. And so we're going to have to do some work, right? Do some work. So we deal with mindset. We deal with emotional intelligence. I'm an emotional intelligence coach, an REBT coach, and a cognitive behavior coach. REBT coach is a relative emotive behavioral therapy, and those two kind of intermesh. All three of those kind of intermesh together to kind of deal with the mindset. And then on top of that, I was a pastor for years, right? And I've seen people even after going through deliverance, their mind is still messed up and need to know how to function, because they've been in that state the whole time, and it's time to kind of transition and stop dealing with the past and deal with now, and that you have the authority, the power that God has placed in you to make those transitions and to change. And to sit up here and blame stuff on people forever is not an option, right? You have an opportunity. I was talking to somebody today. I said we have the authority. Um, we have the authority mainly because of what God has given us.
Mhm.
I've seen unsaved people do this stuff, and they made changes to negative behaviors, mindsets, and stuff like that. They transitioned. The only difference between them and us, for those that are believers, right, is that we have God in our life, and and for me, I always say that God will kind of supercharge that a little bit, to be able to help you to overcome the whole spiritual aspect that you have to deal with. When you see unbelievers able to make those transitions, you know, that's because that authority has been given to everybody to make those changes. You can make those changes. You see it all the time. And then, but one of the things about it is that you see it even in the church, right? I mean, you see the church when they look at and kind of glorify the world for all the wealth that people in the world have gained hold of. And we look at the celebrity of stuff and how we run after stuff like that. And we idolize people like that. And that's not where we're supposed to be, right? And so we're supposed to be the change agents in the earth. We're supposed to be the ones, not just spiritual, but natural. The Bible even talks about money in that sense. And he said the world knows more what to do with the unrighteous mammon than the believers do, and it should not be. It shouldn't be. But the reason why it is because we don't know about the practical stuff that make things work. You know, we can hook 'em and shy everything and throw oil over everything and make it happen. Throwing oil is not going to teach you how to manage your bank account and your books. You can sling oil from here to Timbuktu, but it's not going to teach you how to be to change your thought process for the most part. Prayer changes you, right? It can change you, but how often have we seen people and even ourselves where we prayed and we'll make a small adjustment, then we go back to where we came from, because we have nothing to help us to cross over and make those transitions. And that's the thing that we do with our coaching. You know, we have the spiritual aspect of what we know and what we know in God, and then on top of that, we add it with practical things that we know how to make people kind of shift in those areas. And so that's the importance to everything. And so that's the reason why we want to be able, you know, if you want some one-on-one coaching, we can help you with that. We got different packages for that. But you know, and just if you just want to talk to somebody and find out, hey, how can I make this shift? How can I make that transition? Lay out a plan and show you how to get to that next level and how to make those shifts. And all it is about us having a conversation. We're not telling you what to do. We'll lay down some framework for you, and pretty much it's you learning how, with the tools that we give you, learning how to transition through all those different things. And we're there to help hold people accountable, because we all need accountability partners. I have one. Javon has accountability partners, a lot of them, right?
Multiple.
Right. And so accountability is key in order to make transition, right? And if you put something out there and say, hey, I'm getting ready to do this, then those accountability partners are supposed to be there to help you to kind of say, hey, man, hey, sir, ma'am, you say you're going to do this.
What have you worked on?
What have you worked on? And show me something. And so those are the things that we have to do in order to get better at reaching our goals. Now, I even seen people be successful and reach a certain financial goal, right? They reach that, and then there's still other things lacking. So I've seen people, and there's a couple of people that I follow, and they finally reach making $10 million, and they get there and they finally realize something, that they made the money and the money wasn't what they were really after the whole time, and they're still searching for something. They're still looking for their life purpose. Even after they reach the money, now they got the money to go anywhere they want to go. And what will make a person, you know, that you see, because we're going to be on YouTube, got to be careful what we say, make a person making $9 million a year. This one young lady I saw and read about it in the paper some years ago, and she leaped off of off the 15th floor, you know, and what make people do stuff like that, you know. Churches say it's demons. Okay, absolutely. All right. But then there was some things that she was lacking in herself. And when you listen to what the family and friends were saying, she had achieved those things and she still was empty. There was still, because, and then she didn't know what to do, because I've reached the apex of where I am. And now where else am I going to go? I'm in this world here, and I don't have any purpose. I don't have any life purposes. Beyond the money, once I reach that apex of where I am. And that's where we help you to understand money shouldn't be the main thing, you know, to kind of get somewhere, but you need it to function in this world. You definitely need it to function in this world. You know?
And that's that what you're describing is the biggest difference between dreams and goals.
Hmm.
We can have a goal to be a millionaire, but the dream is to do what with the millions?
Yeah.
What is it that you're doing with your life as a whole
Hmm.
that will help process, for us, the kingdom of God and
Hmm.
what God's plan is for our lives, and how we are to be stewards towards one another. Um, we are here as coaches, um, foremost to men, to communicate to men that they're valuable, they're important, they have significance, one to another, and also to this world, but first to God. But then also, there are ladies who may be struggling, or young adults who may be struggling with that sense of understanding of a deeper identity or a deeper purpose,
Hmm.
or why the dream needs to be so big,
Absolutely.
and how can I make sure that it is big enough for me to continue moving forward, whether there's money or no money, whether there's people following or no people following, whether there's fruit this season or there's a dry season, all of those things. That is why we do what we do.
Hmm.
um, Success in the other ways will transpire, but the truth of the matter is, what gets me out of the bed and what gets Coach Chris out of the bed, um, and gets us pursuing after this one thing, is making sure that men know that there's a safe place for them, they're valuable, God has a purpose for them, and you can discover it. And once you do, it will help transcend your life to a place of comfortability, regardless to what happens in life.
Absolutely. So we're grateful for you just showing up tonight, spending your time with us. We value your time. And so that's going to be the end of our broadcast. And before you leave, share this post, share this link, share the
Hit the
whole,
like button.
hit the like button, share it with your friends and family, and watch this. And then we'll be out of here.